Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
So, answer me this. When the racing stops and everyone puts the race cars away in real life, what do racing drivers do to fill the time? Well, they jump in the simulator and they go and race cars in the virtual world instead. And for another winter, it's going to be BRSCC once again providing the fun as we introduce you to the start of another new Clapham North BRSCC Winter eSports Series. Evening, everybody. Scott Woodward's here to guide you through all of the action. We're going to kick off the racing action for BRSCC for the first time in this brand new year. First of all, Happy New Year to everyone who's watching. Hope you had a great festive period and you are excited and ready for a new season of motorsport, not just at club level, but motorsport in general across the year as well. Let's get you warmed up with some Winter eSports Series action. We've travelled virtually to the east of England and to Norfolk and to the Snetterton 300 circuit, which of course has been this current layout since roughly around about 2010, 2011. So the longest and most technical circuits they'll visit on the calendar, and it's certainly going to provide an interesting test for what is a bumper entry for tonight's season opener. More than 30 drivers in the field, and as you can see, after last year's foray into the BMWs, we've now switched back to the tried and tested and much loved Mazda MX-5 Global Cup cars, because of course at BRSCC they do a lot of Mazda MX-5 racing, so it makes sense to switch back to a car that most of these drivers know and love. So qualifying is currently underway. We are currently setting the grid for the first of our 3 races here tonight. We've got just over half the session that's still to go, and as you'd expect in this championship, there is quite a mix of BRSCC talent, both drivers who regularly race in BRSCC championships, but also those who simply picked up the BRSCC membership so they could take part in this series. And there's also names who might not have raced in real life yet in a BRSCC championship, but they have been no stranger to the Winter eSports Series action and are back again to test their skills once more. One of them is the man that's currently fastest in the session and also top of the times right now, and in fact on your screen, and it is one half of the Clapham North team, Matt Kendall, who's a regular BMW Compact Cup driver, and I almost get it confused with Matt Flowers, who used to race Compact Cup, now as a Mazda MX-5 driver, quite fittingly. He's fastest by a fraction under 0.3 of a second from Thomas Merritt, who was one of the stars of last season, as one of the Hills Motorsport cars in the background goes spinning outside, exiting Murray's Corner. Thomas Merritt, who was one of the stars of last season's Winter Esports Series, and indeed in real world, the Fiesta Junior Championship. He was vice champion last year, second fastest. And then Harrison Leach, third quickest as well, so good to see him up there in P3. Trafford King is a new name to the grid. He's fourth fastest, ahead of Jack Ashton, who was last year's Metro Cup champion. And then Liam Martin Bradley for Bromley Motorsport, a new face to the championship as well. He's adorning the white, grey and red flashes on the number 32 machine. Looking down the group, we've got drivers who've raced in Fiesta Juniors, in C1 Endurance, in Mazda MX-5s, BMW Compact Cup. We've also got in here a lot of drivers who are certainly going to make quite an impact. Some who aren't regularly drivers in the field, but are no strangers to BRSCC. You've got Jamie Peters-Ennis, who is a regular pit reporter for the Fun Cup Championship. You've got the resident photographer, James Roberts, and even Marcus Hesketh, who is one of the race ops team in the BRSCC HQ office, and he has put himself behind the wheel to see what he can do. He's currently 19th quickest, just inside the top 20, ahead of a certain Lewis Turkington. And yes, that is Turkington, as in the one that you're thinking of. It is the son of four-time British touring car champion Colin Turkington, currently in the top, outside the top 20, because there's been a couple more position changes. Will Blackwood Chambers is on a fast lap. Will Blackwood Chambers was last year's MX-5 Super Cup champion, two-time pro champion. He's now had some exciting news just today breaking that he's now moving into the Fun Cup Endurance Championship with Rob Boston Racing, the team that has run him to those two championships in MX-5 Super Cup. They're now foraying into Fun Cup for the first time, and they're taking the defending two-time Super Cup pro champion with them. And of course, Will is no stranger to eSports action here. He's taken wins and podiums and has been one of the resident frontrunners in this championship in the past as well. He is currently just in the top 10 on the fringe in P10. Looking at the rest of the top 10, you've got Chris Etheridge in 8th, 9th is Tom Griffiths, and 10th is Blackwood Chambers. Regular format is that we have this 20-minute qualifying session followed by 3 races. We'll have races 1 and 2 pretty much back-to-back. So once race 1 is finished, they'll quickly regrid the cars, put them straight back in for race 2, typically with the grid set by the result of race 1. Then there'll be a partially reversed grid when we get them set for race 3. There'll be a small gap in there in between, so we might be able to squeeze in 1 or 2 interviews to have a chat with a couple of drivers, see how their night's going at this point. And then we'll have a chat with some of the drivers properly once we complete race number 3. Race number 3 tends to be one of the slightly more hectic races in the evening because of the fact that you do tend to have a lot more going on. That, meanwhile, is 73 going around, which is, I believe, that is Marcus Hesketh. Andrew Payne, in fact. Andrew Payne, another of the BRSCC liveried Mazda MX-5s. Andrew Payne, who has recently just been announced as the new coordinator for the City Car Cup, which his son Hayden Payne has been racing in that championship, and he has also raced himself, so he's no stranger to City Car or indeed the championship. 65, Isaac Doble, one of last year's BRSCC champions. He was crowned Fiesta Junior champion in his first full season of racing. He'd also got down to the final 2 in the 2025 Fiesta Junior Scholarship when he battled it out with Lewis Islin. And Lewis took the scholarship title, but it was Isaac Doble who came of age halfway through the season, and that then helped him to pick up the Fiesta Junior title, sealing it at the final round at Brands Hatch as part of the prestigious Formula Ford Festival. Looking at car number 33, which is in the field, which is Max Edmondson. Now, this is, of course, someone who is not only a former Civic Cup champion, but also has been plying his craft, particularly this year, in the Virtu Mini Challenge JCW class. There's a couple of mini drivers in the field. Cam Richardson in the field as well, also Lewis Selby, both of those who are competing under the Napa Racing banner. But good to have Max Edmondson gracing the BRSCC virtual racetrack. Good to see him back on a BRSCC race weekend, technically, as he makes his way in towards Ritchie's Corner. This layout, the full layout of Snetterton, 3 miles in length, so interesting to watch out for. There is car 77, Martin Corkwell, who's got the Papega-style livery. If you're not sure what Papega is, go and look it up on the internet. It's quite an amusing meme of some kind. There's quite a cult around it. He's got to choose a very Papega-themed livery. Even it's got the big eyes on the front. It's certainly helping him out in terms of pace. He's trying to get up there as high as he can. Across the line goes the number 16. Max Horler, another one of our Fiesta Junior drivers from 2025. He's debuted in the championship last year, sporting some very similar colours. Got the Traxxas livery. Traxxas, of course, a renowned radio-controlled car producer. Reputable brand at that. He's now currently at the moment, if my memory screen wants to quickly refresh, at this point in time. More heading down the straight. We've got 61 and 11 going down the straight as well. And of course, in car 11 is Arish Adu, the dry racer, the Scottish name. 81 also in there as well, which is Jamie Peters-Ennis. Those are two infamous Mazda liveries. The one which Jamie's running is the RX-7s used to race in the IMSA GTO class back in the early 90s, sort of 91, 92. And then if you know motorsport and know Group C and know sports car racing, you know exactly what the livery is on Arash Madu's number 11 car. There's 86 heading around, which is 86 being, that's Jack Sant. We'll say Lee Sant on there, but that's obviously his father's name on the account. So it is Jack Sant, who's another Fiesta Junior racer who's looking to try and make impact if he can out of the final corner. You've got to be careful that you don't invalidate your lap time when you're running wide over those curbs on the exit, because you can ultimately end up with your lap time being disallowed, or at least having instant points. Do that too many times, you get yourself a penalty. At the top of the times now with 5 minutes to go, it's still Matt Kendall fastest, and that the initial time that he put in, that put him a fraction under 3/10 quicker than Thomas Merritt, still stands in second place for Thomas. Harrison Leach third. It's then Trafford King fourth. Isaac Doble in 5th position, 5th quickest. Jeff Richardson, the Irish driver's moved up to P6. He's another new name on the grid here tonight. Jack Ashton, 7th fastest. Liam Martin Bradley, who is in the pit lane, is currently in 8th fastest. And we see there number 14, which is Peter Stather, another newcomer to the eSports series. 22nd fastest, personal best in Sector 2, and holds the position at the moment. We'll start row 11 if he can't improve any further on that part. A couple more drivers coming across the line to complete lap times. Look, Will Blackwood Chambers is on a personal best in Sector 2. He won't improve his best time. He's a 2 minutes 7.010. It's put him 11th fastest at the moment, but not the ultimate fastest time, because that's still a 2 minutes 5.931. The timings at the bottom of the screen show 2 minutes 5.930, so it's definitely 2 minutes 5.9. Whether it's 3.1 or 3.0, answers on a postcard. Dan Parron-Smith, who's been racing Mazdas for the last couple of seasons elsewhere, he's up to 5th position. He's in one of the Hills Motorsport liveried Mazda MX-5s. That's the typical colours of a certain Aidan Hills, who himself is a 2-time MX-5 Super Cup Pro Class champion. Car number 8 turns his way out of the Wilson hairpin. Did make the mistake earlier last season commentating for another championship by calling it Montreal, when it is in fact now Wilson hairpin, named after the late Justin Wilson. Out of Palmer, which is named after Dr. Jonathan Palmer, the man behind Motorsport Vision, who owns this circuit, and others like Brands Hatch at Alton Park and Cadwell and Donington Park as well. And also the Navarra circuit in Spain, which is what we used for our first round of last year's Winter Esports Championship. And that was quite a blast in itself as well. So out onto the Bentley Straight come these trio of cars, and it's headed by, it looks to be, Will Blackwood. No, I think it's Matt Kendall that we're looking at. It's one of the Clapham North cars we're looking at. Which one it is, I can't see the number just yet. 43, so it's Will Blackwood Chambers who's leading these three. He's given the tow to 88 and to 98. 98 is Jack Ashton. You can't really miss him because he's got the purple helmets-inspired livery on the Mazda MX-5. And 88 is Alex Catlow, another driver who is new to this championship, at least in this weekend. Through the bomb hole they'll go. That's one of the trickiest corners on the circuit, because you have that massive compression right at the apex when you're trying to swing the car through. That can easily unsettle a car like a Mazda MX-5 Cup car. Can and has in the past. I've seen other drivers who've, even front-wheel drive, who've just hit the balance of that corner a little bit too wrong. The car's just stepped out and they've run out over the grass on the exit. Ashton getting a tow from Catlow. Down the pit straight they come side by side. Ashton set the fastest first sector of anybody, so he sets a purple sector and goes 3rd quickest. With the Metro Cup champion onto the 2nd row of the grid. Impressive lap from him, and the tow certainly worked from both Blackwell Chambers and from Catlow. We'll send him a thank you card later on. So getting into the last couple of minutes. Round about a minute and a half left to go in the session. See if anyone is properly improving. Corpcar set a personal best in Sector 2 in the Papega machine, we'll call it. And just behind him, another similarly intriguing livery is car number 36 by the look of it. 36 is... I'm going to scroll down. 36 is... Let's see who 36 was, but it disappeared off the screen. To second has gone Richardson. So Jeff Richardson, the Irishman, onto the front row of the grid. That's now him lowering the gap to pole position by a tenth. 2/10 off the best time. 2 minutes 6.1 for Richardson. Merritt in third fastest now. Ashton fourth. With demoted to the spot. Leach down to fifth. And it's King, Parron Smith, Doble, Griffiths and Etheridge. Chris Etheridge, who's jumped up to P10. He's a regular in the C1 Endurance Series. 21 is James C. White, another newcomer to the championship, or to the series season. Across the line he goes. And James is 14th fastest and stays 40. I think he's moved up to 40, the better time at this point. But nothing that's given him too much more pace. But it gives him essentially a 7th row spot. Adam Lyle in car 17, he's chosen the student driver livery, one of the default ones that are available. Adam has popped up to 27th, so he improves his time and does a personal best. It's a 2 minutes 8.791. That's quite substantially off the pole time, so he'll be looking to try and make some kind of progress on the 14th row of the grid. He's just dicing on track there with Thomas Potter, who's been a regular in other eSports championships and series over the winter and over the season last year. But as the session ticks over, we're now ready to get our 2026 Clapham North BRSCC Winter eSports Series underway. And here is how the first grid of the season will line up. From qualifying, pole position goes to Matt Kendall in car 59. He will start on the front row alongside a late effort from Jeff Richardson that put him on the front row of the grid. Thomas Merritt and Jack Ashton then come next on row 2. Fiesta Junior Vice Champion and Metro Cup Champion. Then Harrison Leach and Trafford King come next on the third row, ahead of Dan Parron Smith and Isaac Doble, Fiesta Junior Champion from last year. He starts 8th. Tom Griffiths, former BMW and Super Cup racer, will start 9th alongside Chris Etheridge from C1s. Then Liam Bradley and Will Blackwell Chambers, double a Super Cup champion in Pro Class, rounds off the top 12. James Seal comes next from James C. White on the 7th row. Alex Catlow and Thomas Potter make up row 8 in 15th and 16th. And it's Benji Douglas and Max Haller, a pair of Fiesta Junior racers, on row 9. And the top 20 completed by James King and Robert McGregor from Mazda MX-5 Mark 1s. James Roberts, the photographer, starts 21st alongside Arash Madhu in the 787B inspired livery. Peter Stather and Marcus Hesketh, the BRSCC HQ staff member, starts in 24th. He starts behind Mitch Marie, an ex-Fiesta Junior racer, and Lewis Turkington in 26th. Then it's Adam Lyle and Paul Dunningham, Aaron Beattie and Jack Sant, Jamie Peters-Ennis and Zakaria Salim from Morocco, Alex Corkwell and Martin Corkwell, so both the Corkwells on the 17th row, and then Toby Campbell and Andrew Payne starting 35th and 36th, essentially at the back of the grid, last but by no means least. So 18 rows of cars lining up on the front stretch. The typical process of loading everyone in. Everyone's ready to go. And there's no formation laps or warm-ups here if you're watching for the first time. It's quite simply, once the grid is fully formed, the session will begin the countdown. The red lights will come on, and when they go out, as typical, we'll get underway, and our new season for the BRSCC Winter Esports Series, supported by Clapham North, will be underway and ready to go. Matt Kendall, who's taken wins in this championship before, alongside Jeff Richardson on the front row. Watch the lights at the top. Was ready to start a new BRSCC Winter Esports Series. Kendall on pole, Richardson alongside. Lights are out, and we are underway. It's a clean start for the first couple of rows. Everyone's shuffling for a bit of racing room. It's Kendall who will lead them down towards Ritchie's for the first time. They slot him first, second and third. So Kendall, Richardson and Merritt. This could be a crunch point, quite literally, because you do see drivers being a little bit too close for comfort in the first couple of corners. Everyone's single file so far. Your fingers crossed, keep toes crossed, everything crossed down towards Wilson Hairpin. There goes Parron Smith diving down the inside with 3 abreast, I think, with Traffic King. And also on the outside line, looks I think Tom Griffiths was in there as well. And there has been a couple of spinners in the background, so the almost inevitable, sadly, first corner antics has come about. But a couple of the cars have come to blows, but looks like not too many more. A couple more cars running wide. I think one of them is James Seal, and just drives back onto the end of the road and holds onto it, but held onto it there. Side by side as now Traffic King goes down the inside to try and hold the place in car 42, makes the move on 79. That's Harrison Leach. Out of Agostini for the first time. Kendall still leads it from Richardson and Merritt in the top 3. Ashton's going with them as well. And Dan Parron Smith makes it a quintet trying to pull away on the opening lap. Next group is headed by Traffic King, then Harrison Leach, Isaac Doble, Ron Griffiths and Liam Martin Bradley are in there as well. It's side by side with, looks like Leach battling with Doble up the inside for position. It might be Martin Bradley and Etheridge, one of the two, as they come out onto the Bentley straight for the first time. One car on the grass in the background, just around the base of the top 15. Lucas Bosley might have been Chris Etheridge. Okay, he's lost a spot, in fact, now to Alex Catlow down the straight. Blackwell Chambers only just in front of him. He's 11th place, chasing after Liam Martin Bradley in the Bromley Motorsport car. Under the bridge and into the Brundle Nelson complex for the first time. There's the hashtag Blessed livery, which they do run in the C1 Endurance Series just like that. That is, in fact, a effigy of Lewis Hamilton on the side of that car, Sir Lewis Hamilton. As they make their way now through Corham for the first time. Everyone keeping nicely single file. Couple of battles, couple of side-by-side moments. But apart from one or two off-track moments and a spinner on the exit of Wilson Hairpin, everyone appears to have got through this pretty much scot-free. So Matt Kendall leads the first lap of the season. It's Kendall who's in front then by, as they come across the line, the magic gap of about 4.5 tenths of a second. Richardson's second place, but under pressure from Merritt. There's a look up the inside in towards Ritchie. Tries to force the issues, a little tap in the rear as we go on board with the Fiesta Junior Vice Champion, hustling the rear end of Jeff Richardson's car. He goes defensive to try and wade off a move to the inside from Merritt. He'll then try and look for the up and under here, but he'll just keep his patience. And of course, what they can't do is get too invested in battling with each other, because the harder they do that, the easier it is for Kendall to try and get away and make a break. One car's gone off into the wall. It's Dan Parron-Smith. He was running in 5th position, but he has now slipped down towards the base of the top 20 and tumbling further, trying to find a gap in the traffic. And looks like he possibly, maybe that's just a server glitch, but he's actually reset quickly back to the pit lanes. Either that's a quick fast toe for him. We'll go to a replay and see what happened. So this is what happened here. He was battling with Ashton for 4th position into Wilson Hairpin, had a look up the inside. And there's a little scuffle on the exit. Ashton held his line, didn't really want to back out, and crunch. There it is. Exit into the wall. I think Ashton's done the same thing. He's also escaped the pits as well. There's a couple of cars that have hit strife, and a couple of drivers, Fortune's already taking an early nosedive. Onto the Bentley straight for the second time. Kendall's got a small gap now of about 3/4 of a second as they head down towards Brundle and Nelson for the second time. It's Merritt and Richardson nose to tail for second place. Further back, you've got Isaac Doble chasing after Ashton. Ashton's carried on, so there's a couple of cars which didn't have as smooth of runs that are similarly liveried to Jack Ashton's car. And was that Doble slightly into the back of Ashton, I wonder? He skipped over the grass, gone over the curb on the exit, kept the position, but he'll probably argue that he was forced there because it looked as though, I say allegedly because I didn't fully see it exactly, it looked as though there was a bit of a tap in the tail from Doble. Of course, if there's a replay, we can try and tell. But Doble now has the inside line through Corn Corner. And what this has done is open the door for Ashton to just let several cars through, because he's also let through Tom Griffiths in the white car with the kind of black and blue striping on the side of it and down the bonnet. He's let Blackwell Chambers through and Martin Bradley through. That's now put him down from what was as high as 5th position down to about 10th. Across the line they go. This second group of cars headed up by Isaac. A couple of cars also heading out to the pit lane, having done their fast repairs, one of which I can tell you is one of the Corkwells and one of the Papagan liveries. Further back, just outside the top 10, Ashton there is now not all's well, I don't think, with his car, because he's now having to fend off both Alex Catlow and also Chris Etheridge. Catlow in the second of the Bromley Motorsport cars, and they actually arrive at the hairpin right in front of car 33, which I think is a rather bemused Aaron Beattie, who is in, I think, the teammate car to Max Edmondson, and probably didn't anticipate to be jumped on by several cars outside the top 10 as they're battling for position. All those cars, aside from Beattie, are all in the line scrapping for the positions outside of the top 10. It's 6th position downwards. It's Doble, Griffiths, Blackwood Chambers, Martin Bradley, then Ashton, Catlow and Etheridge and White are in there as well, and Douglas isn't too far away either in 14th position. Next group is then headed by McGregor, Mitch Marie, who's come back quite hard at the foot. He was around about 22nd on the grid, up to 16th at the moment. And oh dear, I was about to praise Marcus Hesketh, but then Marcus sadly is just shown as being out. So I know is he there? Yes, he is there. So there's a bit of a glitch in the system for a second. Bit of lag, but Marcus is being respectable inside the top 20, 17th place. I was about to tear him a new one, but to be fair, he is holding his own at the moment in time, holding mid-pack. So good effort, good so far from Marcus. I haven't really seen him sim race before, so it's a new adventure for me to watch him do so. I'm not quite sure what the livery is on that car. If we can get a closer look, I'm sure it'll be something that either inappropriate or just something that's completely different. I think he is lagging a little bit because he's now disappeared from view. So we head back to our cars a little bit further up. It's James C. White, who must be racing from Portugal rather than being from Portugal himself. I could be wrong, but it's his flag that he's chosen to run with. And he's just chasing after Chris Etheridge in that hashtag Blessed machine. Out in front, just to recap where we are, not to forget them at all, we are currently seeing at the moment Kendall still leading by 1/4 of a second, but that gap's come down now because Merritt has not only got past Richardson, but he's also closed the gap into Matt Kendall. And these two did have some battles last year. Blackwood Chambers was a bit higher up amongst other drivers. But Thomas Merritt, who keeps himself busy with sim racing when he's not behind the wheel of a Fiesta Junior race car, is certainly putting the pressure onto Kendall now, down towards the hairpin at Wilson. Top three stacking up as they turn through. And Merritt will have to sense an opportunity here because, of course, in sim racing, you haven't got the real feeling or the real perception of the car right alongside you. You can make it as real as possible, but Merritt's going to have to really bide his time here and find the right moment. We're heading towards half distance in this race, about 30 seconds away from doing so. Down towards Agostini once again. Top three covered by just over half a second, as Richardson keeps the pressure up on both of them. Behind them, Blackwood Chambers is making moves. Griffiths has got past Doble. Doble missed his apex and his braking point. There was a little bit of contact as they went through the middle of Agostini, and that was Blackwood Chambers looking to make the move on the Fiesta Junior champion, but one champion couldn't quite get past another. See, the front end of Blackwood Chambers' car is a little bit crumpled, where it's just had a little touch of contact on the back of Doble. And you've got Jack Ashton, so 3 champions, in fact, line astern here from BRSCC circles. Fiesta Junior champion leads MX5 Super Cup Pro Class champion, leads Metro Cup champion. So this really is almost a champion of champions battle, if you like, between the 3 of them. Just behind them, whilst Etheridge hits no man's land, that's Catlow battling with Benji Douglas. Benji's made some progress up the field as well. And he's now lost his spot. Just got to slow down for the track limits as well. So Lowe is just dropping a bit of time here. He's also going to let through, looks like, West White. He holds his line on the outside, exiting Nelson. This gives the inside line if he can put himself level for the bomb hole. If White wants to force the issue, he will. There's a little scrape of rear wings, but apart from that, he's just about got away with it and almost came to blows again as they turned in towards the corner. And now it's side by side between the Bromley Motorsport teammates, because Liam Martin Bradley is on the inside for the first part for Coram, on the outside for the switch back into towards Murray's. Over the curb goes Catlow as he puts the power back down, and now the 2 Bromley Motorsport cars will run side by side as they sprint up the pit straight once again to complete another lap. We are 8.75 minutes into this first 15-minute race. Now nose to tail. We'll see if there's going to be another position change up towards Richie's corner then. To the inside defends Martin Bradley. Catlow will try and get him on the undercut unless Liam parks that car straight on the apex, which he does. And again goes to the inside to defend. This is kind of almost the up and under you're going to try and do here. If you hold that outside line, you have to try and anticipate that the car in front that you're battling with is going to give you space. You have 2 options: either back out and try and get another corner, which is exactly what Alex has done, or stick it out around the outside. Hope the guy sees you, and hope you don't get squeezed onto the grass and a lot of dirt and muck on your tyres. On board with Catlow, watching his teammate in front. I do say the golden rule of motorsport is not to hit your teammates. I'm sure that'll be in the back of their minds. I'm sure these two won't want to hit each other either. Lead battle between the 2 of them, side by side between. Kenley's been put on the outside line. It'll put him on the right racing line for the next corner, Oggies. And this opens the door now. As Merritt held the outside line to the left in towards Oggies, it gave the opportunity for Richardson to sneak up the inside and try and pounce for second place. He goes into Williams in front of the Fiesta Junior vice champion. And also look at the fact it's given both King and Leach the play into this one. It's now 5 for the lead down the Bentley Straight. Just under a third of the race left to go. Then giving the toe to the 4 cars behind him. There is some lap traffic in front. That is going to play a crucial part. They hit the bridge together. Underneath it, through the left-hander of Brundle, in towards Nelson. They'll flip right as the car in front that's struggling. It could possibly, I think, maybe be Aaron Beattie, because he has been trundling around a bit in one of the machines. Behind him, here's the second group, and that's just as busy, because now Doble has the inside on Blackwall Chamber. This will be to try and take away 7th position. And it's MX5 Super Cup versus Fiesta Junior. And at the moment, the Fiesta Junior has the momentum through Coram corner. You're a brave man if you stick it out around the outside to try and hold yourself with the right line for the next corner. And it has worked for Blackwall Chambers to defend from Ashton, but not to re-attack Doble. Griffiths has also taken track limits, and he's gone wide on the exit of Murray's corner. So it's all happening here at the front of this race. This is only race 1 of the season. We've got 15 of them in total. They're all action-packed like this. I say, bring them all on. So, just over 4 minutes to go now. And that's starting to get a little more intense now. They know there are more positions at stake. Trying to bide their time a little more, but really, at this point in the time of the race, biding time is not really something you could afford to do. Nor can Blackwell Chambers, and nor really can Jack Ashton. He's up the inside in towards the hairpin at Wilson, makes the move. This now opens it up possibly for Chris Etheridge to try and squeeze past the hashtag blessed machine. But Blackwell Chambers is kind of losing positions a little bit hand over fist, because He was a little bit higher up in the second half of the top 10. Now he's marching towards the back of it, and Etheridge is trying to force the issue here, looking for a gap which Blackwood Chambers really didn't want to let him have. And back down towards it, he moves across and there's contact. It was a little bit interesting between the two of them. Etheridge might argue the case that Blackwood Chambers moved across when he was braking. Blackwood Chambers wasn't in line, but luckily, while I'm a commentator, I'm not a clerk of the course, so I shall say no more and carry on with the race. So the 3 champions line astern, but it's now a slightly different order because Doble now holding off Ashton. Jack Ashton, who, if you ever watched him race a Metro Cup race, you'll know it's him. 1, because he's in the distinctive white and purple helmets Metro. And 2, because he's usually got quite a sizable gap to everybody else, and I mean literally everybody else in the Metro Cup grid, as he tends to dominate. Now, this is the replay we saw from what happened between Blackwood Chambers and Etheridge from Chris's view. So we're heading down towards Agostini, looks to the inside, Blackwood Chambers defend. That's fine. Down towards Agostini. You could argue possibly both cars come together into the same space. I'm sure Etheridge might have an argument that he held his line and Blackwood Chambers moved across, but again, that's for the stewards to decide if there's any action or not. Through Coram once again. 2.5 minutes under that, just under left to go in this first race. Through Murray's once again. And Ashton has indeed got past Doble. So whilst we watch that replay, Ashton has made the move and passed the Fiesta Junior champion. Blackwood Chambers trying to come back at them. We'll take a look at the overtake that we missed. This is now the onboard view from Ashton, down towards Brundle and Nelson, in the tow. Closing in ever so slowly, creeping forwards, and Jack Ashton got enough for tow to charge down the outside, hold his racing line. Part of me feels as though that was all too easy, that overtake. I think for a second that Doble possibly strategically gave him the spot, so the next time they come down that straight, he'll be in the tow to get it himself, be in a better position by the time they come back to the sprint to the checkered flag up the centre straight. So through left-hander at Palmer, only a minute and a half left to go in this first eSports race. We've got more side-by-side action. This is James Seal battling over Thomas Potter. This is for the last couple of spots in the top 20. James Seal, who was one of the faster drivers, the Mazda MX-5 Championship, the one sponsored by Kent Models. You've got James Seal and Jack Sant nose to tail now. Jack Sant, another Fiesta Junior race. They do like to keep themselves busy. 2 teammates at play down towards Agostini, and looks as though Jack Sant has his number, but Seal tries to drive it right around the outside, not determined not to give that up that easy, even though it is his teammate. Potter now kind of sandwiches the gap between the 2 cars. The teammates almost come to blows down towards the left-hander at Hamilton. They're still side by side, and they touch, and round goes. Seal almost holds it. What's the cardinal sin in motorsport? You do not make contact with your teammate. Nobody told these 2, but they've managed to survive it, and that's the main thing. But I think that's a lesson for next time. Stay away from each other. So out of right-hander at Williams, onto the Bentley straight again, with quite a sizable gap between each other now. I think they've got the message. There might be some words afterwards from the team boss. Meanwhile, this is another battle further back. This is Mitch Marie scrapping with McGregor and Douglas. This now gives... and Hesketh, in fact, because Mark Hesketh was in the picture. Now he's exited stage left, so I don't know exactly where he is. There he is. He's popped back in again, much to Mitch Marie's surprise. Back up the inside he goes, and has got the spot. So up into 16th goes Marcus, and he might even get a top 15 spot if he plays his cards right. He won't do it like that, because Mitchell's going to come back at him inside at Murray's, and now they'll run side by side up the straight again. We're on to the last lap of the race. The leaders are going to get one more chance to see if they can change any positions. Battle might well rumble onto the flag because he still keeps pushing, trying to retaliate and recover. Well, the leaders are now already out of the Wilson hairpin for the final time, and it really has gone action stations here between the 5 of them. So Kendall, Richardson, Merritt, Leach, King. That's the quintet battling for the victory and the podium places. There's someone running wide in the background, but we'll look on that later. So down towards Agostini, challenge on for 4th. There's now that 3rd place. Here comes Leach to try and make a move on Merritt. He kept it firmly defended, held his line in towards Agostini, and no change between them. This now gives King the run he might possibly allow to get himself 4th place. Leach holds firm where he is. Not interested in giving King an opportunity. And it's calmed down also behind them between Griffiths, Ashton and Doble. That's still 6th, 7th and 8th. We keep the focus on our top 5 here, out of Williams and onto the Bentley straight for the final time. Kendall then has about half a lap to go to hold on to take race win number 1 of the season, but Richardson is going with him. He's determined for the tow. They snake down Bentley Straight, all trying to catch the slipstream that's being given off initially by Kendall. But as you go further back in the queue, the tow gets stronger and stronger. This could be an opportunity for either one to try and make a late move here. They keep single file through Brundle in towards Nelson. The only chance they're really going to get is a good run out of Murray's and on the sprint towards the checkered flag. If someone can pull himself alongside and get a better exit, either rely on somebody running wide, but it might not be that simple. Through Coram, is someone going to come unstuck here with 2 corners to go? Holding firm. If anyone's going to make an attack, it probably has to be now, but I don't think Richardson's got himself enough here unless he can really get a drive up the pit straight to try and deny him the victory. As they make the run towards the checkered flag for the first time in 2026 in the BRSCC Winter Esports Series, hugging the pit wall and taking victory, Matt Kendall opens the account in the first race of the season. Race number 1 goes to the Clapham North man. He takes victory in race 1 of the season and the night at Snetterton. Is Richardson in second place and Thomas Merritt picking up P3, followed by Leach and King in the top 5, who are all covered by just under 1 second. So excellent job and clean racing from just about everyone there tonight. That's a really good solid start to things here in the new esports season. P6 goes to Tom Griffiths. 7th goes to Jack Ashton in the end from Isaac Doble, Chris Etheridge, and more Blackwood Chambers. I'm sure might be a little bit disappointed and surprised he's back in 10th, but then again he might judge the calibre of talent on the grid and might not be so surprised, but he'll know he'll have to raise his own game if he wants to. The rest of the field comes streaming through to take the checkered flag. Jack Sant's car, I think he's now at Sands, a front nose section and also a crumpled bumper. Something's happened a little further back. There's Arish Mandu's car, who comes home in 28th. I think out of the 36 starters, 31 will make the flag and haven't chosen to retire. There would have been a few that would have chosen to use their fast repairs to get a fast tow back to the circuit. To the pit lane, Andrew Paynors comes across the line and picks up 29th position. And the cars we've got left to try and finish the race are the number 5 of Toby Campbell and the number 77, which is Martin Corkwell, who we're just seeing on screen here. He's had his own share of dramas throughout this race. And there's still 2 more to go, so we could get even more breathless by the time we finish up tonight. I have to say, the standard of the racing for this first race, actually, I shouldn't sound surprised, but was actually quite tidy, quite clean. There was a couple of bits of skirmishes, but there was nothing what you call, I would consider, a major incident or an accident. It was everyone keeping firm, everyone minding their P's and Q's, it being the first race of the season. It might be a little bit more action-packed when we get to the partially reversed grid for race 3. And that will certainly be expected in itself. But for now, at least, we can make our switches towards race 2. And, of course, the grid is set by the results of race 1. So, ultimately, originally of the grid, it's also the result of what happened just now. As they do switch across into race number 2, we will run you through who is going to start where. And also, as well, at the same time, give you the result from race number 1 as to who finished where. So, starting on pole position for race 2 is going to be race winner Matt Kendall. He'll start alongside Jeff Richardson and Thomas Merritt, who completed the podium in that first race. And Harrison Leach and Trafford King round out the top 5, with Tom Griffiths sharing a third row with King in 6th. Jack Ashton starts 7th from Isaac Doble, Chris Etheridge and Will Blackwood Chambers, who completed the top 10 in that first race. And then James White and Liam Martin Bradley, who complete the top 12 in 11th and 12th position. 13th is Alex Catlow from Benji Douglas in 14th. Then it's Rob McGregor and Mitch Marie. Marcus Hesketh in a respectable 17th place. He'll start alongside Peter Stather for Revsport International. Thomas Potter and James Seal complete the top 20. James had damage on the front of his car towards the end after a skirmish with someone somewhere. And then it was Jamie Peters-Ennis and Paul Dunningham. James Roberts, a respectable 23rd from James King, starting on the 12th row of the grid. Jack Sant and Zakaria Salim, Adam Lyle and Arish Madhu from Payne, Campbell, Corkwell, Turkington and the rest as the 36 cars line up once again. 5 red lights at the top of the screen and race number 2 is underway. So pick up where they left off, make the charge towards Richie's corner. Let's see who pops out of turn 1 first. It's a clean start again from pole from Kendall, trying to squeeze and force the issue as Harrison Leach up the inside of Richardson. It looks as though he's just about to hold on to it. I think he's got it, in fact. So second place does go to Harrison Leach. And already in the Owen Mills racing car, he's pushing on to try and make the move out through the right-hander at Wilson for the first time. And out towards the left-hander at Palmer's again. Now they make the run down towards Agostini for the first time. Into the hairpin they go, Lion Stern. All pitched with single file. A couple of the cars have also had a little bit of issues in the background too. They've all just about survived it by the looks of it. So yeah, one car's gone around is James King. He's the RAF machine car, but he's carried on. There's the back, and also in there too is Martin Corkwell. Someone going grass tracking is Toby Campbell in car number 5. Well, he'll be on his way through. So yeah, a couple of casualties on that opening lap. As Thomas Merritts and Roberts have also got yellow next to their name. Roberts has had a spin somewhere, so he's dropping down outside the top 25. Make the way onto the Bentley straight for the first time. I can recompose myself and put the words back in. So Kendall has the lead. Richardson, Leach, Trafford and Griffiths. That's the top 5. And Leach is going with Griffiths here, so he's now the main pursuer as they come out of Nelson for the first time. Making the sprint down towards the bomb hole. Through that compression, nice and steady. Richardson leading that gaggle of cars, battling over third. Ashton was wide, exiting bomb hole just before they got to the right-hander at Coram. Flip left into Murray's. Kendall's got this one nice and steady through the left-hander. A little wide on the exit. And now the sprint up the hill up the straight to complete that number 1. So they hug the pit wall to get the shortest run towards the line. It's Kendall with Leach on his tail by only a tenth and a half. Richardson in 3rd place. It's King 4th, Griffiths in 5th position. Doble, Ashton, Etheridge, Blackwall Chambers, Martin Bradley up to P10. And one of the 2 Bromley Motorsport cars. And Ashton Leach's car having 1 or 2 lag issues, but is there, so he's holding on to 2nd place. Which now's got a bit of a different task here. He was attacking mostly in race 1, now he's defending from race 2, as Trafford King decides to apply the pressure. He's his way in towards the left-hander of Homer, side by side between Thomas Merritt and James White by the looks of it. White holds his ground, but so too does Merritt, and of course he was a bit further back than he'd like to have been, so even though Merritt was starting 3rd on the grid, he's tumbled down outside the top 10 and losing another spot as White makes his way through and claims the spot. So the Junior man is just dropping back a little bit here as they come into this 2nd lap of the race. Copy markers go for a Burton, but they'll survive another day at one point. Phoenix Sim Racing car. Down towards the Roggies. Now through the right-hander, Williams, and onto that Bentley straight once again. And the King's been given a slow down. That must be for cutting a little bit too much or running wide too much. That's going to lose him momentum. He's now dropped behind Doble, and Etheridge, and Ashton, and Blackwall Chambers, and Martin Bradley. Losing P10, and James White tries to fully capitalise on that. Tries to look round the outside, and Trafford thinks, well, rather than try and fight it, we're both going to head for an accident if we do that, so I'm just going to let you have it. And indeed he does. So that is now down to 11th, and it might be 12th if Thomas Merritt has anything to say about it. He almost makes it through. Just behind him, running wide there, was Alex Catlow. He now loses to... I thought there was Catlow losing to McGregor, but it hasn't. Someone lost a spot, but it was McGregor just about holding on and not able to get past Catlow again. Anyway, it's Benji Douglas, in fact, who's in there. Douglas with Merritt just behind him. Then Catlow ran wide as a result of that. Merritt also got a very scruffy end to this lap. He had a bit of a shaky exit through the King onto the centre straight. It's put him back down in 12th position. 13th, in fact, because Douglas is ahead of him now. Catlow's right on his tail. And Thomas Potter's in there as well. He's also chasing Peter Stather and Marcus Hesketh. So Hesketh now looking to try and improve on his position. In 16th, he's in the gaggle in his opening laps. And there goes Potter having a look to get past Stather, which he does. That opens the door behind for James Seal to try and squeeze through and also pick up a spot at Stather's expense. Then down towards Wilson Hairpin. Stather stands his ground and holds the inside, but Potter's going to brave it out around the outside. But you are going to get shown the edge of the road if you do that, which he does. He's over the curb, but not on the grass. And now he's going to make it 3 wide now as Seal thinks, right, I want to get past 2 for the price of 1. Let's see what we can try here. Breathe in. He's last of the late breakers. Stather was, but he holds Potter the outside line, and that's an easy pass for James Seal. Probably the easiest one he'll make all season. 2 for the price of 1 into Agostini. As easy as you like. So Seal is now up what was 90 up into 70 at both of their expenses. Stather still defends and then turns his way out of Oggies once again back towards Williams, and these two are still going to keep on battling all the way to maybe not the checkered flag, although Stather has got a slowdown penalty, so does Potter and so does Mitch Marie. So all 3 cars right at the bottom of the top 20 are being told to slow down because they've been cutting corners too much. Doesn't lose them too much momentum to the cars in front. Stather still keeping them in brief touching distance, but Stather has also got himself a bit of a gap to the cars behind. But Stather hasn't even properly taken his slowdown penalty. He will do shortly. There it goes. He gets cleared from the system. He managed to slow down enough. Some just get theirs out of the way straight away. Others like to gradually lose theirs and try and keep a consistent amount of pace. Benji Douglas now with Merritt hustling his rear bumper. Those two, I don't know how much they've raced against each other directly in Fiesta Juniors. Merritt was always a front runner in the mix as well. I can't remember exactly, politely, where Benji was in the field. But these two have shared a racetrack for real several times in 2025. Oh, Merritt is getting close to the pit wall and they're scraping it to try and get the shortest run towards Richie's corner. That's exactly what Thomas has just done. Into Richie's they go, nose to tail. This is over 12th position. So outside the top 10. Catlow's not that far away as well. And in contact in front, that's Martin Bradley and Will Blackwell Chambers have come to blows. Now, they were in the base of the top 10, but both of them go tumbling down. Martin Bradley's car looks like he has substantial front-end damage. Something suggests that maybe the impact was more Martin Bradley into Blackwell Chambers. Unless we have a replay, we can't fully confirm that, but there's damage the rear of the car as well. The rear suspension is causing that car to crab. And here's the replay of what happened. So Blackwell Chambers is ahead of Jack Ashton. And Liam Martin Bradley, no, he's behind Liam Martin Bradley. Liam goes to try and get into the corner, and goodness me, either that's brake fade or something else. But the result is that Liam Martin Bradley's car has quite substantial front-end damage. That number 43 car is not going to be in any fit shape to continue racing unless Blackwell Chambers does in fact get a fast tow. As you can see, it is crabbing heavily in the replay as it was heading down towards left-hander at Wilson, and he has, I think he's carried, this is the replay from Martin Bradley's view. Let's just try and understand what happened here. Down towards it, it's the brakes on, and just, that's hard to explain. The visual picture tells you more than I can really describe or really want to say in some aspects, but there's the end result. Martin Bradley's car with heavy damage, and both will at least need to repair back to the pits. Blackwell Chambers hasn't done that though. He's actually managed to carry on. Fair play for crabbing his way down the Bentley Straight. That can't be the most comfortable way to drive it, but he's a double MX5 Super Cup champion, not for nothing. Blackwell Chambers is also quite well versed in eSports, so probably driven worse damaged cars than this, but the car impressively has gone down the entire Bentley Straight going sideways, drifting his way into Brundle, can't hold on to it, round he goes. He might have to admit defeat here, I think, Blackwell Chambers, and think that car's not going any further unless he fast tows it. Continues on. Gilles Villeneuve, he can't even give it up unless the car literally has no wheels. So he literally crabs his way back towards the pits, at least. Leaders are already back towards the Wilson hairpin to start another lap, so they're past half distance. Still, Harrison Leach has got past Matt Kendall, so Leach now leads the way now by a quarter of a second from Matt and Kendall in second place. Just in third is closed back in, as too has Griffiths. And Doble completes the top 5 with Ashton 6th, and Etheridge, White, King, Merritt and Douglas. There's your top 10. Further back is Robert McGregor in 24th, and make it 25th position because he ran wide. That gave Lyle and also Corkwell the invitation to slip past at his expense. And here is a replay of what happened to McGregor. He's got very loose through Richie's corner, gets it sideways, and just behind him couldn't quite say exactly who that was. It might have been Marcus Hesketh, in fact, actually, because he had to get it sideways. In fact, he did. So fair play to Marcus. Good avoidance to not make contact with McGregor whilst he was having his own accident. Hopefully he didn't hit anyone. Carries on unscathed, but has lost himself several positions. Probably a little bit more red-faced. That's it again there in the background, sideways out of Agostini. And just behind him, that was Zakaria Salim getting sideways in sympathy. So that's McGregor's just a bit of a play here. He's kind of just touching the edge of the circuit. Trying to touch the lead here as Matt Kendley gets back past Harrison Leach on the approach to Brundle, turns in through Nelson, back in front of the Owen Mills racing car. Now Richardson spies the opportunity for second place, peeks to the inside through the bomb hole, can't quite get through, but he does open the door enough on that first attempt to try and spook him out of the way. This time opens the floodgates as here comes Griffiths now. Leach will power it back around the outside to hold the place, and here comes Isaac Doble in the blue and white machine just behind the Fiesta Junior champion in P5, trying to pick up passes from Griffiths. Leach runs wide. All the incentive he needs, he'll be right in the slipstream. Which way is he going to go? He can't really go inside unless he forces the issue. Leach makes that very clear he's not going to his right-hand side, so Griffiths will stay there. Which way does he go? He goes, I'm surely, to the outside, which he almost does, but he holds firm. Doble dancing around behind him in 5th position, trying to keep himself in Griffith's mirrors and give him enough of a distraction that he can possibly throw him offline and sense an opportunity towards Wilson Hairpin. They all hit the brakes together. And Leach closes on Richardson. Griffiths closes on Leach. Doble closes on Griffiths. It's a proper chain reaction between them. Ashton is still in P6 and he's in this mix as well. So all that battling has actually given Kendall a little bit of respite, a little bit of breathing room now. He can use that 3/4 of a second to dictate the pace and the line he wants to take. Now this 5 behind him is battling over 2nd to 6th. They have more to worry about. And just hearing a bit of information in my ears from the producer that apparently Liam Martin Bradley had some kind of brake failure going into the Wilson Hairpin at turn 2, which is what caused the incident between himself and Ward Blackwell Chambers. So there's the story, and you saw the end result. Shame, but I know he'll be back for race number 3. Let's see if we can put that right. And he's got, I'm sure, a car that's capable of taking him through the order. Got some good spots in early laps. Side by side between Jamie Peters-Ennis and Marcus Hesketh. Didn't think I'd be saying those two will be battling on track together, but they are. And it's Hesketh who has the line and the place, and he holds on to 16th. But Jamie Peters-Ennis can hold his own when everything clicks for him. And holding firm in the number 81 livery, which is also a similar livery which Ollie Allwood used. And, in fact, I'm trying to remember his name now, which is really bad. I should know his name, but Thomas, the MX5 champion, it will come to me. I'm going to be shocked if I don't remember it, but I will try and remember it if I can. Anyway, Jamie Peters-Ennis is holding on the slipstream of Kendall, who's going to try and Hesketh is going to try and get through. Here's my first commentary of the year. Put my teeth back in. Side by side between the two of them. Hesketh, to be fair, holds it round the outside. Has the inside for the next part at Nelson. Holds the place and uses enough of the curb to keep the position. High defence and track position from Hesketh. Hold on to the place. He's probably disappeared ever so slightly briefly after lagging out, which he has. He's back in the mix. Now Peters-Ennis holds 17th position. There's still Backsand, Aaron Beattie and the James King RAF machine, number 23, in the top 20. They make their way now towards the straight once again. And they'll be roughly, I think, around about possibly another lap to go after this one. If not, it might well be the last lap of the race. In fact, the best lap times, all the 2.5s, 2.6s. So the leaders, I think, we'll wait and see how the timer looks. James King wants 19th place from Aaron Beattie, but Aaron wants to try and hold on to it. The Scotsman has enough in that line to make the position work. Meanwhile, Paul Dunningham was under attack there from Toby Campbell for 21st. That was the Paul Dunningham who regularly races in the Classic VW Cup in the wheel of an Audi A3. Was under threat there from Campbell. King tries to continue applying pressure and looks at around the outside, was looking Campbell to make the move. Now Doble, looking further forward to our leaders, is in 5th position and chasing after Griffiths, but he now also has behind him on his wheel tracks both Ashton and Etheridge, and also the recovering Trafford King, who was up there in the top 5, at least in race 1 he was. P8, he is just in the fringe of the top 10. So in towards Nelson they go. Etheridge has a look as and watches as Ashton pressures Doble for 5th position. 4th for Griffiths, 3rd for Leach, 2nd for Richardson. Kendall has the lead by 5.5 tenths. I think they will get to a line and do one more because it won't take them 20 seconds to get out of the final corner and up the pit straight to cross the line. So one more time around the 300 circuit will go the leaders. And will anyone dare to make a move? Does anyone dare to show their hand here? Does anyone dare to make that possible checkmate move that gives them the victory? Look at this. The top 8 are all line astern. It's Kendall, Richardson, Leach, Griffiths, Doble, Ashton, Etheridge and King. Any one of those 8 will end up on the podium. In which order and who's it going to be, we'll find out in 3 miles time. Through Richie's we go, still with Kendall with the advantage. Half a second now to Richardson. Richard's got bigger things to worry about, which is Leach on his tail for 2nd place. Up towards Wilson they'll go. And Leach, I think, is just going to try and squeeze back through if he can, but he almost lost out to Griffiths as a result of that. He went into out of corner exit. As they make their way towards Wilson Hairpin. Still no opportunity here. Of course, every single corner that Leach doesn't take the opportunity, he loses. He starts running out of them pretty quickly as he gets towards the end of a lap here. Down towards Agostini, they'll come this time. Is there going to be a look to make it through? Doble just quickly pops out of line to put himself in the Griffiths mirrors, as Richardson was the widest of the 4 cars that went through, battling for 2nd to 5th, but he manages to hold enough for line to keep each at bay. All that defence, of course, is only giving the advantage further to Kendall, who is now 8.5 tenths to the good on this final lap of the race. In towards Oggies. Here comes Ashton to try and make that bingo send for 5th position. Doble gives him the space. There's a little leaning on each other. But now, with the right-hander and the track position for the Williams corner onto the Bentley straight, Doble has no choice initially, but he'll come back at him on a corner exit, and the pair will go level. They'll go side by side, but Ashton will try and squeeze him onto the grass as much as he can. It's still wheel to wheel between them. They're almost touching wing mirrors. Evich might give him the push here. It could be last of the late breakers under the bridge. Who's going to be the first one to blink? They'll still be side by side. Doble doesn't want to give it up, and neither does Ashton. They'll turn in towards Nelson. They just about survive it, but Ashton's on the curb, and here comes Etheridge, giving Doble the push down towards the right hand at the bomb hole. It was 2 by 2 in towards there, because joining in 2 was Traffic King behind them, but it's broken the pack up because these 4 won't go any higher than 5th position unless something happens with the top 4. In towards the right hander at Corm, they'll go for the final time, and as they continue to skirmish, and the top 3 behind the leader continue to battle for the best of the runner-ups, it's going to be a win for Matt Kendall, win number 2 of the evening. He'd done it with just cars just behind him in race number 1. He'll do it with much more of a gap this time, and he'll make it 2 from 2 in the opening event of the season so far. It's Matt Kendall who wins the second race of the night in the 2026 Clapham North BRSCC Winter eSports Series. This time he wins it by almost a second from Jeff Richardson, who had that front row start and defended all the way to the line, at least, but not after he had to get himself back past Harrison Leach after he managed to get himself through at one point, and even took the lead at one stage as well. 4th for Griffiths, 5th for Doble, 6th for Ashton, 7th for Etheridge, and then 8th for Traffic King. Top 8 in total were covered by 3.8 seconds. Top 4 by 1.7 in the end. There's more battles towards the flag. That is going to be Jamie Peters-Ellis with Jack Sand and Aaron Beatty. He holds off 2 of the Fiesta Junior crew. And behind them was Campbell and Dunningham and Turkington. So Lewis Turkington coming across the line in 23rd position. Adam Lyle 24th. And the rest of the pack comes streaming through. So 2 wins so far then for Matt Kendall. Unbeaten at this point in time so far tonight. Let's see if he can make the hat-trick. But he'll have to do so, I think, for a slightly partially reversed grid. So we will see. If anyone has got anything in the mix as well. So as the race ends, we'll show you just how this one is looking tonight, and we'll look at the results very, very shortly. But impressive drives there. Of course, one of the biggest casualties from that race was Will Blackwell Chambers and also Liam Bradley, because fortunately Liam Martin Bradley with a brake failure and the contact he made after drilling the back of Will Blackwell Chambers' car as a result. Certainly there'll be quite a few apologies if that happened. They were the 2 kind of big casualties from the race, really. Dan Parasmith was also someone who was in there at one point, but he lost it and backed the car into the tyres. So that meant that he had to come out of the race pretty early as well. Waiting for one more car to cross the line, we're being told. It's Liam Martin Bradley, in fact. Looks like he fast repaired and got back out. Hasn't yet taken the flag, which will be in 32nd place. So it will be 32 cars out of 36 that did. Now he has taken the flag, and we are switching into our warm-up session, which is a quick warm-up to kind of adjust the grid to get it ready for race number 3. Just a quick note, of course, for anyone who is typically following the BRSCC and the BRSCC Championships and Series. The new series will start this new season starts in April. So we'll see if we can go forward to that one. We'll go through the race results. And what we'll do once we've gone through those, I think we can quickly, very briefly, if we can bring him in, hear from our double winner, Matt Kendall. But we'll do that in just a moment. Let's clarify the results from race number 2 first. And it is Matt Kendall who takes now a double victory from tonight and did it by just under a second, from Jeff Richardson in 2nd place and then Harrison Leach in P3. Tom Griffiths was 4th ahead of Isaac Doble in P5. Then Jack Ashton, Chris Etheridge, Traffic King, James White and Thomas Merritt complete the top 10. Benji Douglas was 11th from Alex Catlow and James Seal. And Thomas Potter, Mitch Marie, Marcus Hethgeth, who hasn't been disgracing himself tonight and certainly has done himself fair amount of justice in P16, so fair play. Then it's 17th place for James King, and then Jamie Peters-Ellis in 18th place. He finished ahead of 2 Fiesta Junior drivers, Benji Douglas, and then as well we had Aaron Beatty. Then Toby Campbell, Paul Dunningham, Lewis Turkington, Adam Lyle, Alex Corkwell, Zakaria Salim, Peter Stather, and Rob McGregor. And then the last few finishes that we had in the end from 29th downwards was... You can scroll through. 29th was... There we go. 29th was Andrew Payne from Arish Madhu, Martin Corkwell and Liam Martin Bradley, who had that brake failure sadly, but got back out after the fast tow. And the 4 cars that we lost were James Roberts, Will Blackwell Chambers, Max Haller, and Dan Parron-Smith. Whilst we've got a tiny bit of downtime whilst the warm-up is going on, not everyone goes out in this warm-up session. It's purely there just as a convenience for anyone that wants it whilst they switch the session over to race number 3 and reverse the grid. We can have a quick chat, I believe, with our 2-time winner who has started off his season in the best possible way. You can't get any better by starting pretty much from pole in both races and winning both races already so far. Matt Kendall, double race winner, double pole sitter. As I've just said, it doesn't really get much better than that, does it?
No, it doesn't. Lovely to be back, first of all. But yeah, they've been working me hard for that. I'm not quite so confident about doing it 3 times in a row.
You've got some new names in there, like Jeff Richardson, Jack Ashton, Harrison Leach, Trafford King. These not names that you've, as to my knowledge, you've raced that much before, if not at least in real life or in the sim. So they're giving you a bit of a new challenge here, but some drivers that you don't really know that much and having to kind of figure out on the fly by the sounds of it.
Yeah, it's great to see so many new drivers come in and be immediately competitive. It's really good. The front of this series gets tighter every year, and we're seeing that again with this lot. It's great.
And of course, for this season, we switched back from the BMW back to the Mazdas once again. Obviously, you had the experience of driving both. Do you think the Mazda is the car which is more suited to this series? Do you think the BMW was fun while we had it for a season last year?
I think the BMW was fun. I think if we ran it now, it would look quite different, and it would probably be a bit more action-packed, simply because of the setup understanding that's developed on the car since we used it. But there is something very nice about the Mazda style of racing, and it's good to be racing it again.
What BRSCC is known for, with lots of Mazda racing going on, both Mark 1s and Mark 3s. Speaking of Mazda racing, of course, you're going to have to start this race a little further back than you have been in races 1 and 2. Now, what's been interesting here, I don't know how you see it, but I think the standard of racing, particularly across the field, there's been 1 or 2 bumps and scrapes and 1 or 2 spins and incidents, but nothing you call massively major. Though I'd argue what happened to your teammate in race 2, which you haven't seen, you might want to have a look back at, was what happened there with him about the hairpin. But apart from that, there's not really anything that you would classify as being rough and tumble driving. So I guess starting a little bit further back in this third race with the partially reverse grid, given how generally good the standards have been tonight in terms of racing, touch wood before I put the commentator's curse on it, are you a bit more confident this time around for starting further back this time, given that you can probably trust the drivers around you a little bit more than you would have been able to in the previous seasons?
Yeah, I'm fairly confident that I can trust pretty much every driver in the top 10. But as always with the style of racing, starting further back is always a tricky judgment call. Trying to work through without losing the toe and without costing yourself time or damage. So it's going to be an interesting race.
No pressure, but you got a hat trick to go and win, so I'll let you go and grab it. But fingers crossed, and we'll see if we can chat to you again after race 3 as somebody who has not been knocked off the top step. So best of luck, and we'll see how you get on.
Thank you very much.
There's Matt Kendall, a little mid-session interview for him. 2 races down, 1 more to go, and let's see if he can pick up a perfect hat trick from tonight. Of course, we'll be starting a bit further back than he was before, but as I mentioned, the standard of the driving in this championship, at least compared to some previous seasons in the first couple of rounds, certainly has come on a little bit more. You've got some slightly more skilled drivers, even more skilled than the drivers were already, like Jeff Richardson, like Jack Ashton, who we know is a known quantity. He does a lot of sim racing himself anyway, and also, of course, has applied that to his racing in the Metro Cup as well. So he looked pretty solid when he started. Harrison Leach has been a regular Mazda MX-5s in real life before anyway. And then we get to the likes of Chris Etheridge and Trafford King, who's also got experience for them as well in real life. So with the top 10 reversed from the results of race number 2, here's how the grid for the third and final race of the night currently looks. Thomas Merritt then gets a chance to redeem himself by starting from pole position after finishing in 10th in race 2. He has James White alongside him on the front row of the grid. Then it's Trafford King, Chris Etheridge in the hashtag blessed car. Jack Ashton will start in P5 alongside Isaac Doble in 6th. Then Tom Griffiths and Harrison Leach in P8, and then Jeff Richardson and double winner Matt Kendall, who is now, of course, the champion leader. He will start from P10 as a result of winning race 2. Benji Douglas comes next to Alex Catlow in 12th. Then row 7 sees James Seal and Thomas Potter. followed by Mitch Marie and Marcus Hesketh, again starting mid-pack in 16th, see if he can shuffle his way up a couple more spots to get into the top 15. But it's James King and Jamie Peters-Ennis, Lee Sant and Aaron Beattie make it an All Fiesta Junior 10th row to complete the top 20. And it's Toby Campbell and Paul Dunningham, and the rest will go through the field as it continues on then. The final red lights come on for race number 3, and in slightly more overcast and slightly darker, grimmer conditions, we're underway for race number 3. There's a lot more jostling going on in the mid-pack, down towards Ritchie's for the first time. Merritt leads the field in line of stern 1st to 5th, in towards Ritchie's corner. It's Merritt from White, from King, from Etheridge, from Ashton. They come through Ritchie's and down towards Wilson Hairpin. They've all kept it pretty clean so far, he says with bated breath and fingers crossed. Down towards Wilson Hairpin. Breathe in slightly. Can they all get through without too many dramas, if any? They've all got through 2 and 3 abreast, but they seem to be surviving. The front half looks okay. 2/3 through okay. I think miracle of miracles, they've all got through the first 2 corners without any major contact. Never thought I'd see the day, but then again, stranger things have happened. Oh, I spoke too soon, because there goes James C. White oversteering to the outside line. Off the road also went in the background, looks like Etheridge. Richardson's down the order as well. There's several cars involved in that one. Etheridge has got some damage towards the rear of his car. It's slightly crumpled. There are cars going every which way to avoid him. Ooh, 3 abreast. That was Dan Parasmith in the background. He makes contact with Alex Corkwell. Spoke too soon, didn't I? There's head-to-head contact. That was Toby Campbell getting involved with, I think, looks like Paul Dunningham. There's more contact further back. Oh, boys, it was all going so well, wasn't it? And I had to open my mouth, didn't I? But there's several cars involved in that one, and they're all going to carry on at least getting a fast tow back to the pits. So, whilst that second half of the field sorts itself out, the field is shuffled out like this. It's Thomas Merritt who leads. Trafford King is up to 2nd place, so the scuffle that was going on affected quite a few of the front runners in that lead group, including the Irish and Jeff Richardson, who was up there in the podium places throughout the night and so far. But it is now Trafford King, the top 2, with quite a distance from the cars behind them. Doble's into 3rd place as a result of all of that. He has Jack Ashton on his tail for 4th. And it's Griffiths in 5th. Potter's up to 6th. Thomas Potter has had a lightning getaway, but also he's been Mr. Avoidance of all the carnage in front of him to pick up 6th position. And I've watched him race another series. When he really gets a good handle on a car, he is pretty quick. So Thomas, I shouldn't be too surprised to see him up in P6, but considering where he was on the grid, a little higher up than I expected him to be. But making his way through the chaos, it'll be interesting. Now, once we come to the end of lap number 1, let's see if we can try and unpick what happened in that first lap as we look at the replay. So, this was going down towards Agostini. This is after the first load of contact happened. This was Toby Campbell ahead of what was going on behind them. Campbell makes contact with James C. White. Round he goes. Dunningham goes into the front of him. And then Dunningham's car kind of has to go to make avoidance. Other cars get around each other and make contact. There's a bit of a carambolage on the exit of Agostini Hairpin. One of the looks like charity sponsored cars is also involved in that as well. I've been intrigued to see if we can also possibly see it. The incident before that, which had a couple of drivers involved, which kind of set that whole chain reaction off, because that was into Wilson Head, the exit of Wilson, where a couple of the cars got sideways, and one of them I think was Jeff Richardson, and another one was possibly James C. White. But if we can find it, it'd be good to see that on the replay. Leaders up towards Agostini, the scene of one of the accidents on lap number 1 on this second lap currently. Merritt still leads from King. They've got quite a gap now. We've got a postal replay here. See if we can look back. This is what was happening a little further back. It's James C. White's view here. So this is what he saw when he made that side-to-side contact with 5 of the other car that was in the mix, and round he went. Toby Campbell that was, in fact. And then as White carried on, you see all the chaos happen in the background. Will Blackwell Chambers was very lucky to get out of that unscathed. Looks like his car was snaking around. He started to cause right towards the back, considering he had that retirement from and dropped back down the order. And this is live pictures, and this is what happened actually initially. So this is now James C. White and Chris Etheridge that made contact. Then as White held his line, looks like Richardson tried to come across. That caused him to spin out onto the grass. And James C. White, of course, continues on. Almost a bit of an innocent bystander. Heads in towards Agostini Hairpin as Toby Campbell to his inside. Goes wide, takes his line, and, well, held his line really, didn't he, as far as I can see, and then all the mess behind happens in his rearview mirror. So that was essentially what happened on the first lap of the race, and it's kind of a bit of a hole in the field between the top 2 and the rest of them. His way out of the left-hander at Murray's and back towards the pit straight once again. This is a bit further back, battling over 11th place. This is James Seal fighting with Mitch Marie, who's up to P10. Douglas is in there as well. So too is Alex Catlow in 9th. In fact, this is Catlow, Marie, Seal, Douglas and Marcus Hethketh, who has somehow been lucky enough to get himself up into 13th place. He's done that, but they are bump drafting each other now down towards Richie's corner. It's almost 2-by-2, though, jostling around for position. Catlow holds it. Mitch Marie with a great up and under, hops over the curb on the inside, but actually puts himself level with James Seal. They make side-to-side contact on the approach towards Wilson Hairpin. Seal breaks that a little bit later to go around the outside. Hesketh also now has Douglas to his outside to try and take 12th position. Scar continues to lag out, so fix your connection, Marcus. And then down towards the left-hander at Wilson we go. And it's still also watching in the background Jack Sant and the other of those two cars that he shares teammates with James Seal. Still jostling for position quite heavily. That's Marie on the outside of Seal down towards Agostini. You've then got Douglas and Hesker still battling. Was that, I think, Marie getting attacked from Douglas? I think it was. And that now gives the opportunity for Jack Sant to get past all three of them. So it looks like Hesker checked up to not get involved in that contact. Sant leans on Douglas. Those two might have done it more than once in Fiesta Juniors this year, but they hold on and kind of get away with it. And there's Blackwall Chambers as well in the Clapham North car, the white, red and blue machine, picking his way through the field steadily, bit by bit. It's only lap 3, and he's now up to 14th place, and the 3 cars in front, he might well try and pick his way past. So replay here of what happened. This is what happened between Douglas and Mitch Marie. So down towards Agostini. Marie's more focused on the outside line for James Seal. He tries to attack if he can. Douglas, I think, was trying to aim for a gap that wasn't really there, was always going to reclose a little bit. Marie got sideways in the background. Hesker had some good avoidance to get himself out of the way as they battled and left each other behind. Douglas then held his outside line on Sant. The two of them leaned on each other on the exit of the corner. In towards Oggies. Just thought discretion was the better part of valor. Held on and remains in position, but trying to attack another time. That another time might well be now. Goes up through corner. He's right underneath the rear bumper of Jack Sant, looking for what will be 11th position. His teammate James Seals just ahead of him in 10th, trying to keep up with Alex Catlow. And also Marcus Hesker has got out of line, and that's going to put him under pressure from Blackwall Chambers. So it'll be 2-by-2 down the pit straight, just like Noah's Ark. Towards Richie's they'll go. Sant on the inside of Douglas, Blackwall Chambers on the inside of Hesketh. Someone's going to have to capitulate in either scenario. Almost neither do down towards Richie. There's a little bit of side-to-side contact. Douglas holds on but loses momentum. Slots back in right in front of Blackwall Chambers, which will kill his. Towards Wilson they'll go. Also look behind the recovering James C. White is behind Mitch Marie, who then has to try and defend himself by attacking Marcus Hesketh up the inside. Hesketh then keeps the door open to get White and the opportunity to get past him. All going on, and there's still half the race left to go. In towards Wilson Hairpin. This is now Sant, Douglas, Blackwall Chambers, Marie, Hesketh and White. The 6 of them together. This is them battling over 11th down to 16th place. Mid-pack battling. That's the great thing about a series like this and how being even and talented the field is. No matter where you are in the pack, towards the front, in the middle, or somewhere towards the rear, you've always got somebody to race with, particularly. If you get a champion like that, it's quite a valuable one, and no wonder it's quite popular. Douglas and Sant again lean on each other. Blackwall Chambers jostling around almost into the back of Sant towards the right-hander Oggy. Sant puts his wipers on. White's not raining, there's no dust, but has to flick the switch. Trying to keep his vision as clear as possible, particularly when he's attacking Douglas to get back that 11th place. But Blackwall Chambers is not really in the place where he wants to be, stuck in the mire here, in the mid-pack of the traffic, and trying to pull himself out of line. But of course, if he can pull cars with him, that'll make things even more interesting. Side by side now for 12th place. It looks at the outside line for Brundle, but it'll give him trap position for the next corner afterwards, which is a right-hander. Gets the toe from Douglas, looks to the outside line. At the inside for the right-hander, Nelson, cool as you like, and Sant stands his ground, goes over onto the grass, puts his foot down and holds on to the place. And now it's side by side behind him between Mitch Marie, meanwhile, and James White. They lean on each other, a little tap of the wing mirrors. Back through Coram they'll go. White stands his ground on the outside. If he can make this one work, he'll be in the ideal position to try and take the place away from Mitch in towards the left-hander at Murray's, which he is. That's brave stuff from him. Lovely move from James. That gives him now 14th place. Another chance to try and get onto the back of Jack Sands if he can. Just a quick mention for the lead. It's still 0.3 of a second between Eric and King in front, and they've got a 5-second gap over the next group of cars that are all jostling over 3rd position. That's Doble, Ashton, Griffiths and Kendall. And here they are, in fact. Kendall had just taken, Griffiths had just taken 4th position, or 5th position, from Kendall, who's then going to try and fight back if he's got the place to do so. Thomas Potter's also making a name for himself here in P8. And as one Clapham North car tries to fight to get into the top 10, the other one's right in the top 5 and holding on to the outside. Slots in behind Griffiths. Now they go wheel to wheel towards Agostini again. And Kendall will know he has to try and lift off this position if he can, which he does. And the move is confirmed, so that now gives Kendall the pass back into P5. And if he can try and sort of sabotage the fight that's going on between Ashton and Doble. He might well steal a podium if he can play his cards right, and there's still a third of the race left to go. I don't quite think, unless there is still a chance that something happens between Merritt and King, it might not be a hat-trick this time for Matt Kendall, but he'll certainly keep on going and won't give up until the checkered flag, because anything can happen. It's very close to the lead, though. It's under a tenth of a second, so you might have to switch for that in a second. But where do you look? Because it's now nose to tail for third place and fourth and fifth. Three of them are on the line together because Doble's getting the push from Ashton. Kendall keeps a watching brief in towards Brundle. They flick through Nelson. Hold on, they're just in a distance there. You saw the nose to tail top two, Merritt and King, going up towards Coram as they come into the final third of the race. So it's 5 for third position, 2 for the lead, and also 2 for ninth place, because you've got Catlow and Seal who are quite close together, only separated by about 3/10. Back into Murray's. Doble, Ashton, Kendall, Griffiths, Potter. Got to be careful not to run too wide, because like in real life, or in any corner in iRacing, particularly in real life, if you run too wide on the exit of Murray's, you do set off the pressure pads that exist in MSV circuits. They send a lovely photo up towards race control, which is undeniable proof that you did extend track limits. You can extend all you like and essentially bring out as many of the racing drivers' excuses out of the book you might have, but I'm certain the race director will simply point to the pit and go, it's undeniable proof, mate, you got track limits, you're going to get a penalty. So, whilst drivers are avoiding to do that, they've got bigger things to worry about, which is trying to get themselves on the final step of the podium. But which of these 5 is it going to be? That's the big question. Further back, you've got Blackwell Chambers, who is scrapping with Benji Douglas to get himself into, will be 11th, because that battle has kind of separated itself out a little more. You've now got a bit of a gap of 3 seconds between Catlow and Seal, who are in that group, and now Douglas and Blackwell Chambers. And then a further gap back to Marie and White, as now, for Believe, we go back to the top 2, and there has been a change. The King has got himself up past Thomas Merritt. It looks though it's only just happened on the exit of Agostini. So, it is Traffic King to the front. And let's see if we can get a replay of what happened. Was it into Agostini? Yes, it was. There was a back marker involved as well. It was the number 6 of Alex Corkwell. Down towards Agostini they go. Let's see what happens. They hit the brakes, and oh! Now then, that is Thomas Merritt into the back of Alex Corkwell, and because of that, he ran wide and gave an easy pass for Traffic King. But, even though it's a back marker, it's sort of, well, the contact is still non-contact, so it was... I'm not going to make a judgment, again, because I'm not a clerk of the course, so I'll simply leave it to them to decide what the judgment is. There was definite contact into the rear of Alex Corkwell's car, and he got sent back down the order. Now, for third place, it's now Doble up to third. Ashton now has Kendall to his outside, who holds his line through the bomb hole. That's not an easy thing to do, to try and hold the outside line into that right-hander, particularly where there's the compression. It's not even easier, again, to try and do it through Coram. But Kendall's trying, he's still trying. He's still coming down the inside line towards Murray's corner. And again, flicks left through the left-hander. There's a little bit of side-to-side contact. Ashton runs wide over the grass. That'll certainly be another instant point for him. Kendall goes back in, and Kendall spins. Kendall lost it on the exit of Murray's corner, and back down the order he goes. So the double race winner, and almost certainly championship leader from the first 2 races, is down the order, and he's down to 12th position behind his teammate now, because Will Blackwell Chambers has got past up into 11th place. It's a free pass. That was the position he wanted to try and get by passing Benji Douglas. Let's look at the replay. So he was going side by side with Jack Ashton. Now they went side by side, and there was light contact between the two of them. Kendall has the inside. There's the touch, and Kendall just lost it. Put the power down. Tried to get the card corrected one way, snap back the other, and round it goes. And car 59 is facing the wrong way. So as he recovers, I'm sure rather bemused, Blackwell Chambers thinking, what are you doing down here? You're supposed to be leading the race. But alas, he is down in 12th position, and I think it's almost certain now that he won't be a perfect hat-trick for Matt Kendall, but he'll have to try again next time for the next round and try and salvage as many points as he can, because, quickly, not thing to think about with the championship, it's the days you don't win races that can win the championship. So if we can make it minimal damage limitation, as much damage limitation as possible, I mean, it certainly might help him out in the long run. Griffiths up the inside to take what will be 5th from Thomas Potter. Potter just nibbled away at the bumper of Griffiths' 25 car, but still no avail to get back past him again. But Thomas certainly holding good account of himself here. I think it's the first time I've seen him race in a BRSCC eSports Championship. Watched the race in others, and he's been quite capable in Spec Series. So the fact he's doing well here, I was just pleasantly surprised at how far he got up the order rather than being up that far full stop. But thankfully he has got quite a talent, quite a young driver as well. He's practically sort of Fiesta Junior age in a way, and definitely someone who I think you should watch out for, particularly in sim racing circles going forwards, because he is quite a young talent and got so many years ahead of him, particularly as he'll have his own ambitions to get himself onto the grid for real as well. This is further back, which is James C. White battling with the recovering Jeff Richardson, who of course was one of the drivers who got involved in the incident. Now, if I'm correct, those two came to blows before. One car spinning off in the background is Rob McGregor. He finds the back of the track again. There he goes. And recovers in front of and now behind Jamie Peter Zennis and James Roberts, having their own private battle, which is currently for 20th position, the final spot in the top 20. This is now for 13th between Richardson, White and Marie, just behind the recovering Matt Kendall in 12th place. There he is in the all-round. We start the last lap of race 3 and of the evening. Currently, it's quarter of a second between Thomas Merritt and Trafford King. So Merritt's got back past King. I wonder if the contact that he had with the back marker might leave a small question mark underneath it, but that's for the clerk of the course to decide if there's anything to do by that. The battle goes back down towards Wilson Hairpin. This is still between Richardson and White, in which they get a little closer, a little tap of the tail, a bit of Morse code. Come on, put your foot down, get on with it, Jeff. I'm going to keep on tapping until you let me through. Making sure that the more he gets taps from behind, we do so. And that is Trafford King. That's King and Merritt. The leaders have tangled up at Agostini Hairpin. Now this changes the complexion totally, because now Merritt is now down to second, down to third. Now puts Isaac Doble into second place, and if Merritt's not careful, the momentum for Ashton might give him third place. Leading on to the last lap of the race, there was almost certain, I think, contact was in the top 2. Here's the replay of what happened. So down towards Agostini they'll come, into the slipstream, up towards the 180-degree hairpin. Close in, holding his line. Trafford goes for it down the inside, makes the dive, makes the move, and there is contact, and round goes Merritt. So, again, not for me to judge, but there's the evidence. There is contact between the top 2, and round went Merritt. And he might lose third place now, because here comes Jack Ashton in the slipstream to the inside down towards Brundle Nelson. He has the inside for the first part. He'll be on the outside for the next part, but he might just be in front, which he is. And so Jack Ashton inherits himself a podium at the expense of Thomas Merritt after that last lap contact. Merritt comes back at him, though. Tries to throw the inside back in towards the bomb hole. They're side by side. He runs him out wide onto the grass, holds the position, gets himself back into third place, and opens the door again for Griffiths. Here comes Griffiths now for fourth position if he can make his way through. Going to be close. It's side by side behind between Leach and Potter. It's all going on the last lap of the race, but through it all, it will be victory. Maybe provisionally, maybe with a question mark. We'll leave that to question for a second, because Trafford King will come to the checkered flag, and he will take victory in race number 3 of the evening in the BRSCC Winter Esports Series. It's Doble second, Merritt third, and Ashton Griffiths between Leach and Potter side by. And it will be Leach, but only by, what do I make that up by? 18 thousandths of a second in the end at the flag between Leach and Potter for 6th position. Seal gets 8th, Douglas gets 9th, and Will Blackwood Chambers recovers to 10th from what was essentially the back of the grid. They're still will to will, and Marcus Hesketh gets a 18th position, just ahead of Peter Stather in 19th spot. Well, I said that race number 3 was going to be essentially the most dramatic of the 3. I think it certainly lived up to that proclamation, because drama on the last lap, drama on the first lap, drama all in between. And Trafford King gets himself his first BRSCC Winter Esports Series victory. But does that come with a black cloud or a question mark overhead? We'll wait and see if there's any change in the result. But we'll count it as it is right now. And it is Trafford King with his first win of the season. Isaac Doble does pick up 2nd place. And Thomas Merritt did get himself back up to a podium place after losing it briefly to Jack Ashton. And credit to Thomas Merritt for standing his ground and throwing that car back up the inside after he lost a spot going into Brundle and Nelson. He threw caution to the wind, held it firm, stuck his nose back up the inside, and forced Jack Ashton to deal with the fact that Thomas was going to be as stubborn as he was to hold on to that place, and he did so quite expertly. Jack Ashton does indeed still take 4th from Griffiths. Then that really short run to the line between Leach and Potter, 18 thousandths of a second, but it ends in Leach's favour, with Potter, Seal and Douglas rounding out the top 10. Of course, ahead of Bull Blackwall Chambers, you've got P10. He actually finished 24 places up from where he started. He started back in 34th position and picks up a top 10 in the end. Fair play, that's one of the drives of it's possibly the drive of the night, and definitely will be, I'm sure, one of the drives of the season, given how many positions he picked up and where he probably should have been towards the front as well. Waiting for one more car to take the checkered flag, which will be Chris Etheridge. Chris Etheridge. I think also Toby Campbell as well, who's one of the drivers that got involved in some incidents further back as well. But that's another BRSCC Winter Esports season race finished. The first race of the season first evening of the season is complete. Here's the results from race number 3. Whilst you wait for some interviews, Trafford King then, despite what happened on the last lap, gets the victory in race number 3 of the evening here at Snetterton in the BRSCC Winter eSports Series for 2026. He's ahead of Isaac Doble in 2nd place and Thomas Merritt in 3rd, so a double Fiesta Junior podium in P2 and 3, followed by Jack Ashton in 4th and Tom Griffiths in P5. Then at Harrison Leach, who just beat Thomas Potter to the line by 18 thousandths of a second, to get the result from Benji Douglas and Will Blackwood Chambers as well, with James Seal picking up 8th as well. Thomas Potter was 7th. But it's Alex Catlow in 11th place. Matt Kendall gets 12th after he spun out battling with Jack Ashton on the exit of Murray's. Then 13th goes to Jeff Richardson, 14th to James C. White, then Mitchell Marie, Dan Parrish-Smith, Jack Santa, Marcus Hesketh, again being quite respectable, in 18th place. 19th place goes to Peter Stather from Peter Ennis, then James Roberts, Zacharias Salim, Robert McGregor, Andrew Payne, Martin Corkwell, Liam Martin Bradley, who started towards the back after his incident in race number 2, only managed 26th. Then Aaron Beattie and Chris Etheridge complete the top 28 drivers. Then from 29th downwards, it was Lewis Turkington, Arish Madhu, Toby Campbell, Alex Corkwell, Adam Lyle, and James King, with Paul Dunningham and Max Hall, over the last drivers being shown as in 35th and 36th. But one of the early casualties, as they are all 3 of the last 3 cars, ended up being 8 laps down. So, that is the end of the evening for that one. I wonder if we have anyone in the interview pen to have a chat with, if they've been dragged in or not. And possibly Charlie might still be rounding them up if he has. I'm sure we'll get a buzz on my phone if he has got somebody, or is lining up somebody to have a chat to. But in terms of the season itself, of course, we are looking forward to more going forwards in the next couple of weeks. And I think we have got Trafford King, I believe. Let's see if we can bring him in and have a chat to our race 3 winner. I'll ask him the hard questions and the easy ones to see how he found the evening. So we'll see if we can bring him in and see who we've got a chat to. And we have, I think it is Trafford King. In fact, he was our race 3 winner. So we'll have a chat with Matt Kendall in races 1 and 2 between the break between races 2 and 3. Now we can have a chat to our newest winner in BRSCC eSports. That is Trafford King. Trafford, congratulations. Excellent drive for that one. I'm going to ask the hard question first because I have to, being the commentator. Last lap, Agostini. What happened? Talk us through from your point of view, because there was contact, but how did you play on it?
Yeah, we were just chatting about it then. I think I've gone in. Thomas has had the sort of tiny bit of overspeed and then turned in like I was going to be fully on the curb, and there was just that maybe half a foot from inside line there where he's just well, we've come together, haven't we? Tried to wait for him, and then as soon as I saw he'd gone full way around, that was it.
These things happen. It's in the heat of battle, of course, between the two of you. We're just watching the replay, some emotion on that one as well. But just talk about the night in particular, of course. A win in race number 3. But I mean, for your first time in BRSCC eSports, you've certainly done yourself pretty good justice. You got up there and battling towards the front. So just talk us through how your first experience was of the series and how you found racing between these guys, because there's imagine there'll be a few drivers that you might be familiar with, but some others that you might be experiencing for the first time.
Yeah, a few of these boys I've raced in past, but everyone's just rapid, so fast. And you know, half a tenth can be 3 or 4 spots in quali, and then you end up in a battle that you probably don't want to be in. And then obviously I had that slowdown in race 2 that put me it actually worked because it put me in a nice position for race 3. But yeah, you don't want to be just dropping points for that, but it worked out in the end. No, it was good fun.
Certainly did, and it certainly looked pretty much a lot of fun out there as well. A couple of weeks break now until the next one that comes up at Donington. As a circuit, do you rate it, and is it one that you think you can repeat performance? You can have a couple of challenges there, given it might not be one that suits you. What do you think about Donington?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Donington. It's one of my closer circuits, so do a lot of testing there. You know, it's always good for a day out on a track day. But yeah, it's good on sim as well. So we'll have a bash, see how we get on.
Given how close and also how relatively clean this front pack is that you're a part of from the get-go here, are you anticipating more of the same from tonight? It's going to be really wheel-to-wheel, of course, but Donington's a circuit that just is conducive to good racing anyway. So do you think that's going to just amp up what we saw here at Snetterton tonight?
I think it could go one or two ways. You could end up with big moves into hairpins. Is it GP or is it national?
I believe it's national circuit.
Oh, never mind. You won't have I mean, you might do. They're just going wrong way. No, well, even more so at national. Then I think it might spread the pack out a little bit, just by the lack of. It's sort of the Snet's the fifth gear tour, which you don't really get at Donington. So I think the pace will show a bit more at Donington. It'll be close because it's obviously a shorter lap, but yeah, I think the pace will show at Donington definitely.
Great stuff. If you keep up the pace that you had tonight, you'll certainly be a contender, I'm sure, for the whole season. Congratulations on the race 3 victory. Of course, it seems you're definitely in the fight for this one in terms of being a front runner. So not a bad way to start your season and to start your winter esports career in terms of BRSCC circles. So congratulations, and fingers crossed you can keep up the momentum in a couple of weeks' time at Donington. Well done.
Thank you very much. Catch you next time.
Stuff. Right, we've got a handful more, as Charlie's telling me, so we've got a few more we can get through. Let's bring in... We had one side of that last lap battle. Let's bring the other side in. And also said an up and down night, but it's our Fiesta Junior vice champion, Thomas Merritt. Let's have a chat with Thomas, I think, because he's had a bit of up and down night, and of course ended it on a... Well, still a podium, but I'm sure he would have been like to cross him a line first if he did. Thomas, first of all, a slightly mixed night, but on the whole, well done for the results that you got up there and fighting quite hard. We just talked to Trafford about what happened on the last lap, because of course we can't really avoid it, but in terms of your point of view from the conversations you had and from what happened at the time, how did you experience that final lap of the race?
Yeah, it was certainly interesting. First of all, it's so good to be back. Obviously, some of you may not know, some of you may know, I had spinal surgery over the winter. This is the first race back, so it's really good to be back and to be able to do this so quickly. Yeah, certainly an interesting night. Race 1 was really good. Had some really good battles, just mixing it in with the top guys. Just getting the racecraft back. I think we could have finished a little bit higher, but everyone's so close in this championship. It's always really good to race against everyone, and it can't always go your way sometimes. Race 2 was really unfortunate, to be honest. We got sort of pushed by another car onto the slowdown at Oggies, meaning I had to back off about a second and a bit. Pushed me down to about 12th or 13th, I believe. I managed to fight my way back up to 10th. Obviously, positives and negatives. Negatives being didn't get the points. Positives being that I got reverse grid pole. Final race was going really well, leading for pretty much the whole thing. Got caught up with a lap traffic car, and that was rather unfortunate. Just didn't make it quite clear enough where he was going to go on the circuit, and I think we both just met in the middle. So apologies for that one. But the final little incident on the final lap there, really unfortunate. Probably a little bit of both. I wouldn't put it on myself, if I'm being completely honest, just because there was a car on a bit whipped on the inside. He didn't really hit his apex, and there was a bit of contact which spun me around. It's racing, it happens, but going forward, just want to try and stay out of these incidents to try and get some better results.
That's for turning my microphone on. It always helps if I want to keep on talking. So, as I was saying, before I realised that, first of all, congratulations on the successful spine surgery. It's obviously successful because you're here racing, which is a great thing to see as well. Obviously, getting back into the groove of it means that you're getting back into racing. You've not lost any of your speed, which is great to see. So, how comfortable do you feel you've been as a whole, not just tonight, but in terms of getting prepared for this? Have you been getting back into the seat and actually driving? Has it felt like it was throughout last year in Fiesta Juniors, or have you had some kind of an adaptation period to kind of get the feeling back of how you can drive these things?
It's been pretty amazing, to be honest. So about 2 weeks after the surgery, I was back in the simulator, just doing a few laps here and there, not pushing myself. But now I'm back to normal. There hasn't really been any sort of respite. I feel completely the same as last year. I'm actually doing the Daytona Raw on iRacing this weekend and 2 hours 40, and then the 24 hours of Daytona the weekend after, obviously alongside competing in this championship. So yeah, it's so good to be back, and now we're just lining some things up last minute for some real racing this year as well. Obviously, we didn't know how the surgery was going to go, but since it's gone so positively, it's a little bit of a manic rush in the Merritt household, but we're getting there and securing sponsors for the year ahead.
Great stuff. All stations forward, both in sim and in reality. Like to hear that. That's excellent. Speaking of sim stuff, of course, next round is Donington. Of course, you've raced there before in real life in Fiesta Junior, so I'm certain it's a circuit that you know well enough from racing there. How are you anticipating running there in the Mazda in the sim here compared to this field, which I think we have to admit is probably one of the most competitive we've seen since we started doing esports, because tonight's field wasn't that many major incidents. Everyone seemed to be pretty much minding their P's and Q's, but also still as good as they got in terms of battling and jostling for position. So it seems that you've got a good bunch of drivers here that, for the most part, you can trust quite a lot when you've got them around you.
For sure. The talent level this year seems to have drastically increased, which is always awesome to see. Donington will be interesting. Obviously, it's quite a tight circuit, and it's a tremendously difficult circuit for overtaking. I thought it was actually rather easy, but after visiting there in real life, it's definitely quite hard. So I think qualifying is going to be really important, and if we can just knuckle down and hopefully regain some of the points we lost tonight, we should be in a really good place for the rest of the championship.
Sounds good. Looks like you're an initial contender, so you seem pretty happy with where you are so far. So onwards and upwards in here, hopefully.
Indeed. Yeah, look forward to it.
Great stuff. Well, great to have you back in action, goes after your surgery. Great to hear it's gone so well. Good to have you back in the series for eSports. And fingers crossed that you have a more consistent, but still a quite successful round next time at Donington. So we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Great stuff. We can do a couple more interviews whilst we've got the time to do so. Let's have a chat with Jack Ashton, who, of course, we know from Metro Circles. Of course, has done quite a lot of sim racing himself, and usually we see him a lot in front-wheel drive action, whereas now with rear-wheel drive, he's certainly proving himself on a Mazda. Jack, good to have you in the championship. Of course, proving why you're a Metro Cup champion. Of course, but I know you do a lot of sim racing and typical anyway. This is your first experience, as far as I know, of BRSCC Winter Esports. Not to say a cliche phrase, but it began with quite a bang, didn't it? You were right in the mix and right out towards the front, and I think getting your elbows out was a bit of an understatement, I think.
Yeah, it was good fun. I mean, I didn't really know what to expect coming into this today. I think just sort of have a bit of fun was my idea and see if we can get a top 5 or a podium at best. It was my sort of goal today. So I saw some of the standard drivers and I thought, wow, this is going to be quite good fun. And yeah, for sure, as soon as we did some qualifying, I realised that I got a good task in front of me, but I managed to get in a good position. Yeah, a couple of bangs here and there, and unfortunate positioning in some places, but hey ho, it was racing, it was good fun. We stayed on track. And yeah, I think good shout out to Isaac Dable. We had a really good battle, I think, pretty much every race. I know he give me a little punt into on that first race, but he did give me the position back later on, so fair enough to that. But yeah, overall, I was pretty happy. Got the blood pumping for a Thursday evening. It was good fun.
Imagine that qualifying stage. You felt a bit like Dorothy from Wizard of Oz, thinking we're not a Metro Cup anymore. This is a different kettle of fish on the esports side. But obviously, in rear-wheel drive, you're used to obviously being front-wheel drive as well. Obviously, there are differences to the mix, but do you find it's relatively easy to adapt from? And of course, you've got sim to real anyway, so there are differences. But when you're going from something you're more familiar with, which is front, to a rear-wheel drive car like the Mazda, and of course you've done sim racing with other stuff before, how much of an adaptation period is there to get used to the dynamics and the switch in front to rear, or are you more well versed to it now that you can switch and not have too much of an adjustment period?
I think I'd say I'm pretty well versed with rear drive when it comes to sim anyway, because pretty much 90% of sim racing is on rear drive. So I tend to kind of get that ability from that. But yeah, it's definitely a different ball game from front wheel drive to the rear drive. Whole different way of driving, and you can be a little bit more aggressive with the front tires, let's say. But yeah, it's good fun. It is good fun. I definitely enjoyed it. I think the pace of of the MX-5s is sort of similar in the way of the Metro, but very different drive style, obviously. So, but it generates really good racing, and I think that showed here today. So it was good fun.
I think the standards definitely come up in terms of how, for the most part, clean and edgy it was. Because now we're going to Donington, which is a circuit I've watched you walk away with Metro Cup races before. So it's certainly one that you're quite well versed in and quite enjoy. With this particular challenge and combination, with these Mazda MX-5 Global Cup cars and this particularly talented field, how tough are you expecting it to be going to Donington in a couple of weeks?
Yeah, very. Even though I might have been fairly dominant at Donington in the Metro Cup, I think I don't fare it as one of my best tracks, if I'm honest. So, in fact, I'd say my Snetterton 300 is one of my better tracks. So, seeing I'm not front, and we're in that sort of mid to front pack, I'm a little bit worried when it comes to Donington, let's say. But let's see what happens. We make strike some luck, and we may get a good result. But yeah, I think if I can sort of bag some top 5s, keep consistent, don't have any crashes, I think it will be a good result for the championship. I think that's just part of most of what we need to do this season, and let's just see what we can do.
What about that Metro magic? I'm sure you'll be just fine.
Thank you.
Good stuff. Well done, Jack. Great first time in the eSports series with us in BRSCC, and fingers crossed you can keep that up in a couple of weeks. See you in Donington.
Thank you, mate. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Good stuff. And I think we'll end it to wrap up the night with someone who we usually wrap up with things on when it comes to Winter Esports Series races. And he had, to have you say he had an up and down race weekend is, again, a bit of an understatement. But let's bring in one of the main people who looks after this championship in the background, as well as races in it. And, of course, has had his own big news in the real world of racing in this case. And that's Will Blackwell Chambers. Let's bring in Will, because we normally have a chat with him right at the end. Mr. Blackwell Chambers, you've had a mixed day in some cases, some good real world news, which we'll talk about in a second. But in terms of tonight, I think up and down is probably an understatement in terms of how that went. Particularly, I guess we don't talk about race 2, do we?
It's one of those, isn't it? I mean, firstly, really happy to be back. Really happy to be running this series to the BRSCC. I think it was quite a success this evening. I think we've had a lot of good racing up and down the grid. As you say, I was having great fun in race 1. We were doing fairly well in race 2. I was just looking after the tyres, and the gentleman behind me seems to have had brake failure. He has apologised, so to be honest, it's all good. Life happens. Yeah, same. You have IRL brake failures. You can also have equipment failures in game. So yeah, the wrist took a little bit of a knock, but other than that, we're all good to go. But yeah, it was good.
I think it was good. And talking to the drivers and watching how this race tonight went out, yes, there were 1 or 2 incidents you'll probably get anyway. And race 3 was the one where I think when you had everyone together in a mixed grid and everyone's looking for positions, it was always going to be a messy first lap anyway. But I was pleasantly surprised in many cases from the first 2 races and just how clean it was, how tight it was, and the fact that drivers were willing to give each other the room. And if there was a little bit of contact or nudging, it wasn't enough that was going to throw somebody offline or cause a major incident. So I think tonight in particular, not just we've seen a really good caliber of driver in terms of the talent level, because it's quite a well stacked front field, which means it's going to be very competitive for the championship, which is what we all want. At the same time, it's a good standard of driving across the board at the front in terms of there's not drivers making desperate moves to make things. Everyone's making more calculated moves. They're making more thought out moves. They're doing it to make sure they can actually make a pass properly rather than just throwing up the inside and just throwing a Hail Mary. I think the standard tonight, for the most part, was a definite improvement and a step up from what we've seen, at least in the past couple of seasons in general, I think. And if that's not too much of a bold statement to make in that sense.
No, and yeah, we're going to see, we've got a fantastic moderation team. I say that because I'm part of it. We've also got Matt Kendall, who's got a lot of iRacing experience. And we've got Jack Noller as well, who's kind of our third steward here. So we've got a reasonable amount of sim racing experience between us. So, we'll be looking at any incidents that occur and sort of dealing out as and required. But I think overall it was really good. I saw lots of good racing, saw lots of little accidents, but then again, that's always going to happen when we're all fresh into a series and everyone's learning how the cars behave and how the game behaves. There's a very, as you say, there's some very quick people up front with a lot of time in this game. There's some people further down the grid who this is one of their first times in iRacing, or they've got a lot less experience. So you're always going to have that kind of meshing of skill levels. But no, overall, I think it went really well.
Yeah, I've been concurred to agree. Lots of good stuff in the background and up the front that you might not have seen, which I'm sure if you watch it back, you'll be quite pleasantly surprised and quite surprisingly pleasant. So, in many cases, in terms of the next round, of course, couple of weeks, a lot had gone to a driver's favourite. A lot of drivers love Donington on the national circuit. Tends to be a circuit that always is conducive to good racing, whatever goes there. We know how good a racing these cars and producers they did so tonight. It's pretty much a killer combination for what should be a really good night's racing to pick up where we left off tonight.
Yeah, no, I'm excited for it. As you say, normally great racing around there, very close, big slipstream down the back straight. I think it'll be fun. Drivers have got 2 weeks to go away and do a bit of practice, and I imagine it'll be incredibly competitive up the front.
I think it will. Right, we'll go and let you take care of your slightly sore wrists after the contact from behind. From race number 2. But again, good first night to kick things off. Fingers crossed for a more consistent and slightly better luck in terms of fortunes next time at Donington. But good effort nonetheless, and we shall see in a couple of weeks to see if you can do any better.
Sure, perfect. Cheers for that.
Stuff. And with that, we will close out our first BRSCC Winter Esports broadcast of 2026. And with Snetterton in the books, 3 races down and 2 wins for Matt Kendall and a sole victory and a first one for Traffic King as well. Solid points, some good results and some good performances from drivers who are both new to the championship and who have raced before. Others who've got some questions to ask and some wounds to lick before they get to the next round in a couple of weeks' time. That's happening on the 22nd of January and is on the Donington Park circuit on a national layout on the same time and, of course, same group of BRSCC Winter Esports drivers. If you want to tune in, of course, be sure to subscribe to the BRSCC YouTube channel and, of course, to Apex Racing on top of that as well, who are our trusted broadcasters for the season once again. So thank you to them. Thank you to, to Clapham North and to George Grant and everyone there for supporting the series and putting their brand as title sponsor for the championship. And for you to watching as well, and to all our drivers and teams that are taking part and supporting it, and of course to everyone in the background who's looking after the championship, the likes of, as you mentioned, All Blackwood Chambers, Matt Kendall, Jetnall, and everyone else that's involved. I'll give a shout out to see who has been helping some of the admin on top of that too. He's been feeding me drivers to get in for interviews also, so good job for him as well. And for you watching as well, hopefully you enjoyed it, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks. So from myself, Scott Woodwis, from Aidan Howard on production as well, and from all of us at BRSCC and the Winter Esports Series, thank you for watching. Join us in a couple of weeks' time where we move across from the east of England to the Midlands and from Snetterton to Donington on the national circuit. Can we see more wins for Kendall and King, or will it be somebody else hitting the top step and making the challenge to go for the 2026 BRSCC Clapham North Winter Esports Series crown? Find out then, but it's till in a couple of weeks' time. Stay tuned and we'll see you for more action at Donington in a few days' time. Bye for now.